One of the creepiest, ugliest, and honestly most cowardly stories in American politics just took a strange turn. No, I'm not talking about the way Marjorie Taylor Greene behaves around cardboard cutouts of Donald Trump.
Swamp. Diane always has them in the swamp.
I'm talking about new developments in the story that initially broke last week about Trump-loving MAGA Justice Samuel Alito. Having been caught red-hatted, did brave Sam stand up and accept responsibility for a mistake? It was a little bit more like, when danger reared its ugly head, he bravely turned his tail. No! Have you ever wondered what's entailed in throwing someone under the bus? According to our friends at South Park, this is one way to do it.
We're gonna have to throw Eric Cartman under the bus.
How do we do that?
We get a bus, and then we throw Eric Cartman under it.
And the other way is what Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito did to his own wife.
In a statement to the Times, Alito said this: "I had no involvement whatsoever in the flying of the flag. It was briefly placed by Mrs. Alito in response to a neighbor's use of objectionable and personally insulting language on yard signs."
Now, I'm going to give you the backstory to his totally stupid, nonsensical explanation here. But just bear in mind that this dumb alibi is about to be blown out of the water by the twist in the story that we're going to talk about in just a minute. So the backstory is that Alito claims that a neighbor on their street had a profanity-laced sign in their yard insulting Donald Trump. And because his wife was so concerned by the fact that the sign was within 50 feet of where children wait for the school bus, her response was naturally to put up an insurrection symbol, as one does. Now, so many problems here. For one thing,
only in the perversions of Samuel Alito's brain does it make perfect sense that when your neighbor bothers you, your wife, of course, turns your American flag upside down.
I also like how Alito thinks that this BS will sound more convincing when it's wrapped in the Helen Lovejoy defense.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
Except the thing is, this happened in January 2021. Guess who wasn't getting on school buses to go to school in January 2021? Children! Because all the schools were closed and doing remote learning because of, COVID. That might lead one to ask,
Do you want to change your bullshit story, sir?
And that's especially true because of the twist that just happened. Because guess what?
Tonight, the new report on a second flag, this time at his beach house.
A new photo tonight raising yet more questions. The New York Times publishing images of a pine tree flag outside of Alito's New Jersey beach home last summer with the words, "Appeal to Heaven." Like the upside-down flag, the pine tree flag was carried by some pro-Trump supporters on January 6th as the Capitol was attacked.
The Times citing 3 photographs it obtained from outside Alito's property from last summer, along with accounts from a half-dozen neighbors and passersby, as well as this Google Street View picture from last August.
At a very minimum, he has to recuse himself from these cases now coming before the court that will determine whether or not Trump is held accountable.
I wonder how many school kids needed to be protected from potty language about Donald Trump by a second insurrectionist flag flown at their beach house.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
By the way, I know this is a deep cut here, but go with me on this for a sec, because what's so ironic is that Samuel Alito is the author of the Dobbs decision. In the Dobbs decision, he relies explicitly on the writings of the 17th century English judge Matthew Hale, who believed in the doctrine of coverture, which said that married women have no rights of their own. Women's property belonged to their husband, and the husband was in charge of and responsible for everything that happens in the household. That's why, according to Alito, you can reverse Roe v. Wade because this 17th century jerk said women have no individual property or individual rights at all. Anything they do is legally, according to him, the responsibility of the husband, including flags, presumably. I'm just saying. But the thing is, we already know that Alito and Trump and the whole MAGA cabal don't care about the law. As Senator Sheldon Whitehouse pointed out, by refusing to recuse himself from cases involving Donald Trump in the 2020 election because of his clear and obvious bias, he's breaking the law right now.
One interesting feature of the recusal requirement is that it is a law passed by Congress, specifically applicable to Supreme Court justices. So when they pay no attention to it, they are actually violating statutory law. This is the law of the land passed by Congress, and they're just flouting it.
Even that spineless jellyfish, Lindsey Graham, who excuses literally anything Donald Trump does, can't come up with a defense for this.
I think it was a mistake, but I'll leave it up to them to explain it.
But look, We know that these people are beyond shame. All we can do is keep pointing out how outrageous the Trump gang is and keep trying to break through to the Americans who will decide if Trump returns to power.